Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed November 11 for ruling on a motion filed by former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido, seeking to stop the People's Democratic Party from holding its national convention. Justice Peter Lefo set the date after listening to arguments from Lamido's lawyer, Jeff Njikoye SAN, and counsel representing the PDP and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Lamido had approached the court, arguing that proceeding with the convention will breach the PDP constitution and infringe on his right to contest for the position of national chairman. However, PDP's counsel, Omokayode Dada SAN, maintained that Lamido missed the deadline to obtain the nomination form and that the matter was an internal party issue beyond the court's jurisdiction. INEC's counsel, Adamu Bello, aligned with the PDP position, urging the court to dismiss Lamido's application. Meanwhile, Lamido's lawyer insisted the party violated its rules and that INEC failed to remain neutral. Justice Lefo adjourned the matter to November 11 for ruling and further proceedings. Victor, what do you make of this story? What is your take on the Sule Lamido saga taking PDP to court? What is your take on that?
Well, I think, we've talked about this whole PDP issue, a couple of times, and we all agree that PDP is in a complete mess. And whatever fight you see happening now is basically a fight for a certain foundation of the PDP. I don't think there's anything concerning 2027 that Sule Lamido is pushing for. But, to get a hold of the party, of the structure of the party. And I think he's largely, clearly within his right, to do that. Unfortunately, PDP as a party has not been able to, constructively organize themselves as a party. Otherwise, I don't really see how, this issue should amount to, the extent to which it has gone, taken into court. But, I mean, completely within his right. Some part of the North, I think I just perceive that they decided that, look, you cannot let this party die away. We need to find a way to get a hold of this party from, I think, the Minister of the FCT and his colleagues. We need to try to restore this. I think that's what this whole fight is all about. I don't think it's about any interest for 2027. That's my belief anyway. So Sule Lamido doing what he's doing is, looking for ways to, claim ownership of the PDP. And I think it's going to end badly for the PDP. I mean, if we check the antecedents, see how they frequently, been misguided or intentionally self-destruct, by members of the same party. So for me, it's just politics in play. It is a fight for the structure, and Sule Lamido, just like Anyanwu and the rest of them, Wike, are all trying to get a hold of the structure, of the PDP. Because at the end of the day, with what is happening, people are looking at the other options. APC as a party, yes, since they're in power and it seems like they have a bond, but you and I know that it is only because of an immediate interest. And the moment that interest is no more, people would need another place to fall back to. And I think that is what, and PDP, whether they like it or not, is one of the most viable parties, one of the oldest parties, in Nigeria currently, with a very good base. So I think whatever happens, it is actually a fight that is worth it. But the question is it a sensible fight? No. But the PDP at this point have gone beyond sensibility, and it's all about sentiment and whatever each individual can. So for me, I think Sule Lamido is just one of those persons that also wants to get a hold of whatever they can, in the PDP. And I mean, it's simply what has been happening. I'm not surprised about it, and I think it's going to continue. And it's going to even get worse. That's what I think.
All right. But then Sule Lamido is saying that his fundamental right to run for election in the party has been infringed upon. Now he's saying that PDP denied him the opportunity to pick a form, right, to run for elections. Probably he's aiming at the national, to be the national president of the party. Now PDP, on the other hand, PDP's counsel, on the other hand, is saying that Sule Lamido had missed the deadline for purchase of the nomination form. And INEC, on the other hand, is supporting PDP. And Sule Lamido's counsel, on the other hand, is also accusing INEC of not being neutral and taking sides. Now, if PDP is saying the deadline has passed, and Sule Lamido is saying my right is being infringed upon, I mean, what does that mean? And then considering that Sule Lamido is praying that the courts should nullify the planned national convention of the party, what do you have to say about that? Don't forget again that PDP is urging the courts to throw away the suits on the ground that it is purely party internal affairs.
Yeah, no, I agree, with the argument of the PDP that it is purely party internal affairs. The question now would be which part or which version or which faction of the PDP, is responsible or will be held liable. You and I know that recently we've had suspension and counter-suspension of different members of the party. So the question now would be, if the court wants to serve, who is going to be held liable? Of course, the INEC, on the other hand, has recognized the section and is siding the party, which I agree. The question now would be, do they respect that principle of internal party? Do they even have an internal mechanism to resolve these issues? If you want to resolve the issue, who is the party's national secretary? Who will you run to? Who is the public relations officer? Because last I checked, both of them have been suspended by themselves. So it's going to be a dilemma and a funny scenario where you're going to ask for internal, you say it's an internal issue, which ought to be. But the question now is, who is going to be held liable? And I agree with him that, of course, his right to freely participate and associate, in the party has been infringed on by the party PDP. The question is, which executive or which group has denied him this? Because I remember, I think I saw a news where I think somebody, he went to meet Anyanwu. I can't remember that, but Anyanwu was acted surprised and said they've not started selling phone, they did not sell anything. So it's surprised that they're denying all of that back and forth. So the question of who is going to be held liable or where is it going to, whatever, if the court eventually gives the verdict, where is it going to be served, who is it going to be served to, and is it actionable? That question is still a fundamental question that I believe you and I cannot even provide that answer for. The majority of the people in PDP, I'm certain, will not be able to provide that answer for. So while, yes, Sule Lamido has a case, an ideal case, if the party was organized and had a functional organ working in the party, yes, I'm sure there would have been easier, way of settling this issue. But the question now is, what is this argument about? Is it possible? Are they going to be able to settle it, and who will do that? At the end of the day, when you go to court, you say the internal party mechanism. If the internal party mechanism is not there and the individual is still being denied his right, to participate in the process, so how do you proceed from there? Who does the court serve, and who do they, hold liable? That is a question. So for me, this issue of PDP and their back and forth is largely a merry-go-round that I think will, end in chaos.
You're right.
Because at the end of the day, there's no sensible, closure in sight to say, okay, at the end of it, this is what will happen, and this is what they will say.